Hello.
Hi.
All right. Good afternoon. Yeah, welcome to today's class. Um, let me covered what's it called? Boolean operators last time, right? How many of you were present last class? Because I do say every meeting is a prerequisite to the next one. Hello? Okay, that's one person. Two. Just two. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, thank you. Those of you that are raising up their hands. That's three. Do I have more? All right, so which means that you'll be able to grab the concept. I need to emphasize this. Once you don't get Python, you don't understand Python, you will not be able to cope with machine learning algorithm. Even if you write the code, understanding is the most important thing. You should be able to know what is happening. Either you are writing, implementing your own from scratch, or you are using an algorithm already made. You need to understand the use of programming language. Okay, thank you so much. Those of you that have raised your hands, you can put down your hand. Okay, so Boolean, even though the last time I was here, I did some introduction, because we are still on introduction to programming then. So I did some introduction to how to use with function, and one of them is the hand operator, the or, and the not operator. They are all Boolean. So what are we doing today? Today, I would like us to talk about, I won't go back to Boolean and conditional, because I want to believe that it was taught last class. If you were not there, please kindly go to your Kaggle notebook. If you have question, drop your question on the group, right? So I will take list again. Those of you that were present in my class last Friday, you should be able to understand or know the basics of list. Now we'll take them in full. Then after we take list, we'll take loops. Then we'll take list comprehension. And then we'll take, if time still permits, I'll touch strings and dictionary. Now, after we are done with Python, let me give you a general overview of the machine learning way. You're expected to have learned um, you're expected to have learned Python, and after Python, we move to data explorative or explorative data analysis, which we call EDA, whereby we'll be using pandas. And after using pandas to explore and analyze data, we move to visualization of data. There are several tools we can use to visualize. You can either use Matplotlib, you can use Seaborn. Those are the two most common anyways. There are many more. Then after that, then we can now then touch what is machine learning. Because in machine learning, you need to plot some charts, do some basics in statistics. Also, I like to pinpoint this. As a data scientist, right? Data science covers three main areas. The first area is statistics. The second area is programming language. And the third area, say statistics and maths, programming language. The third area is the domain knowledge. Let's assume you're a market analyst, right? And you are into, you want to forecast possible sales in the nearest future. Fine. you should know that you should know how to collect data, analyze the data, and do some basic statistics from it, which includes mathematics, or maybe you want to do media mode, whatever. You should know that we are not doing our what's it called, the old way statistics, whereby we use the way we do in school by using programming language. That's what makes it data science. Just the addition of programming language makes it data science. But moreover, whatever we are doing are still more related to statistics, right? Then you now need the domain knowledge of that particular area you want to do. If you're into market research, or maybe you are business analyst, you need that domain knowledge of that business you want to actually forecast. So in summary, data science deal with forecasting. In statistics, you can call it inferential statistics, right? Whereby we can generalize from sample. Let's leave story and move on to the work. We are still on programming language. So I'll share my notes. I'm on Kaggle. You can also get this. You can also get the note on Kaggle. Feel free. So I will touch list, then move to loop and list comprehension. And when time permits, we should talk about dictionary. Okay, probably I should share my work area instead of sharing the notes. You can open the notes on your system, but I'll be sharing my work area here. You can open your notes on your own. So I'll be sharing my Google Colab notes. I know many of you are very used to VS Code. The standard work environment for data science, you always see notebook. Either I use Jupyter Notebook, which is from Anaconda, or you use Google Colab. So I'm using Google Colab for this class. Okay, it's not a note I want to share. I'm having my system. Just a minute, it will come up now. All right. Please to follow up with the class, just like I've said, go to Colab on your own. I mean, I say Colab, Kaggle, and follow as I'm explaining the notes. So the list, like I've said before, the list is a sequence of digits stored in one particular variable. By now, we should know how to write variable, simple variable, by doing something like this. Let me print it out. That loan app that is hot these days, oh gosh, he said he can borrow me 7,000 naira. But after I downloaded, please, can you help us mute yourself? Hello? Hello? I want to ask why Okash didn't lend me 500,000 naira as promised. Sorry, did you download it from the link below the video? I downloaded it from a random website. What's wrong? Oh, you might have downloaded the wrong one. Try clicking the link below the video. Okay, let me give it a try then.
Your mic is muted. Can you hear me?
So I've been muted since. Apologies. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Oh,
Yeah, can you hear me?
apologies.
We can hear you.
Now I said I was as if I want to accept an input from the user, right? We do something like this. Remember we used the input function. Then once this one runs, now it's going to, and if I say Israel, let's say I type my name, and it's going to print it out. Now, it will be easier. Assuming I want to accept 5 names, to rewrite this input function 5 times. I can say user input 1, user input 2, that's 3, user input. Let me limit it to 4. So if I do something like this, then I can then print it out, right? I'll run this to see how it works. So the first one, let me say AY, prompt another one, let me say another AY, and so on, right? Let me say K. Let me say Israel. Right? Now watch. I've been able to do these things by just rewriting my code. But in programming, in software engineering, we usually say use dry work, make your work dry. That is, do not repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself, DIY. In this case, I have repeated myself how many times? 4 times. That is not good enough as a programmer. So what we can do is to introduce loop, or what I call looping. In Python, there are 2 ways to write looping. You can either use the while loop or you use the for loop. I'll start with the while loop. Let me follow my notes and see. Okay, the simplest, I'll start with the for loop. All right. Starting with the for loop, I will erase this. I want to accept input 4 times, right? So I can then say for names in range 4, right? And I'll then say user input equals to input enter a word. If I run this, what we did before, then it can be automated 4 places. So let's say AY, another one AY, another one AY, another one AY. Look at how I've been able to repeat one line of code just by using the loop. So this is one way of writing loop, which is the for statement, using the for statement. Now, how does this loop work? Loop combines the range. What I will do now is to see what is in range. I'll say print names. Let me say print names. Now take note, it's going to print from 0 to 3. Name not defined. Okay, I need to put my S here. So take note 0, 1, 2, 3, because the element in this range is called an iterator, right? The element in the range is from 0 to 1, less than whatever I put here. So this means it's taking 4, it's going to go 4 times, right? If I say range 5, then is going to go 0 to 4, right? So that is how to loop with 4. I'll copy a sample from here, from my cable notes. System is hanging. My system is hanging just a little bit to come up. Hello, do I still have people online? I have system freezing. So just a moment. I think it's this charger.
Yes, you need light.
Yes, we need some. Okay, I'm sleeping.
Okay, I think I'm back. I have my system is freezing, so just in a moment let it load whatever it wants to do. Wow. Okay, I think I'm back now. My
Faster. So the type of economic system we get.
All right. So I wanted to copy before my system
How would you?
hung up. I wanted to copy a sample here.
All
right. I think it's this cable node that is hanging my system. All right. Now look at this sequence of list here. Hello, please confirm if you are still online with me. Hello. Okay. I'll just proceed. Now look at this. I have a list containing the planets, a variable called planet. Right? Now I want to read everything from this list. So I'm using the for loop. As you can see, this end function, what does it do? It actually joins, instead of going to the next line, it's going to join it together with it. So if I run this, let's see the output. You can see how it prints it on the line using the for loop. Quickly, the next thing I want to talk about having system. Okay. I haven't seen my cursor. Hello. All right, let's proceed. I might not be moving through those things actually hanging my system. I don't know.
I don't pay you. Check on. I want to tell my madam. Check on first. Man, not going. Check me. Give you feedback. I want to tell you.
All right, I'm not going to refer back to my cable note again. I think my system is having some too many things processing. So the next way to loop is to use the while loop, right? I'm going to use this sample. So let's say I have this list. So I want to read every item in this list using the while loop. What I can do, you can say while x is less than or equal to the length of planets.
Hello?
Now, one thing I need to explain is
Hello?
this length of planets, right? It will give me how many items are in this planet, right? And I can then say print x. But before then, while loop needs a kind of counter. So I'll say counter. Let's say it's starting from 0, right? So once it's print x, then I want you to do counter plus equal to 1. So it keeps adding 1 to it. So let me run this and see what happens. So I'm having, okay, I call this counter instead of x. So x is my counter there. Okay, let me say planet. So planet x. Wow. Okay. Hello. All right, so this is what I want to do. So as you can see, um, I have all my values printed using the while loop. However, I'm having some error here. The way my system is hanging is making it difficult for me to work. So it says list index out of range. So when you see this kind of thing, that means that in addition, right? In addition, this counter keeps increasing and it is more than the length, right? So what I would do is to use length to reduce that, remove the equal to. Now I have what I want. Any question, please? Hello, is my device still muted? Hello? Stanley, please, can you respond? Can you hear me? Okay, you can all hear me. All right. Sorry for my system was freezing up. So maybe that was when I was not talking. So that is while loop. Does anybody have question using this while loop? Now we've actually read all the elements in this list using two methods. First method was using the for. Second method was using the while. The for loop happens to be the simplest, right? By just coming here and just using the for. Let me run that again using the for loop so that you can compare. By just saying for, maybe for x in planet, for x in planet, then we just say print x. So it's going to print out everything we have in that list. While if we are using the while loop, we need something that will be counting for us. Right? I'm starting my counter from 0. So I'm getting the list, the length of this item. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The length of this item is 8. So as long as, wow, as long as this counter x is less than the length of this, keep printing it. So you notice how I sliced it with use. So in this case, the first item here will be 0, right? Second item here will be 1. Third item here will be 2, and so on, like that. Till it gets to where we want. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is list comprehension. Right? What is list comprehension? List comprehension is a very short way of writing list. Let's assume I want to write a program, right? That we
Hello. Hello. Please, I beg.
All right, apologies for that. Now let's assume I want to write a program that will filter objects that are either digits that are either even or odd. And what I will do first of all, if I say print, let's say I have x. Let me make it simple for x. For x in range 10. Okay, this is very simple enough to understand. Now, what this will do is that it's going to generate all the whole digits that are from 0 to 10. Let me print it out first and say, let me say digits, put type variable. I say digits, right? Let me say print digits. So if I print it out, I have all this. Alternative way to do this is to write it in full by just saying for x in range for x in range 10, right? Print x. I will still have the same answer, but let me try to make it on one line by saying end equals to this. So I do something like this. You just notice that. Let me put it in a list so it can be the exact way as the previous one. Print list x. let me say ditch empty list. So then I'll come here, then I'll say ditch it dot append x. So then I'll say print dit. It's outside the loop. So I have the same. I don't know if some are following. Right. Look at the way this one is written, and look at the way I write this one. In this case, I declared an empty list here. Then I use a for loop to read all the digits in this iterator, that is from 0 to 10. Then I'm adding each of the item in this 0 to 10. I'm appending it to this list called dits, right? Then I printed it out. Now this might be a little bit longer, but instead, why don't we use list comprehension? So when we write it this way, it is called list comprehension. Are we together? So I shorten it by saying get x for all the eggs in range 10. Are we together? So then it now gets all the whole eggs. Now let's assume I want to filter only even number. I can say get x if, then I come back, then put my if x modulo 2 equals to 0. So if I run this, it's only going to give me only even number. I see the way I've been able to filter it out. Now, what I will do now again, I'll use another sample. Let's say I will use this variable called planet. All right. I want to get all the planets that ends with S. Right? And many of us can use for loop. Let's do it with for loop first. Then we now use comprehension. Right? Then I'll say for X in planet. Right? Now, this I will explain soon, which we call the string method, the strings, under strings. So I can say if X dot ends with S, I can say then print X. So this is only going to print out all the I think I have to remove this, all the what's it called? The planet that ends with S. I see the way I've done that here. Pardon me, I will explain this part soon. I know we have not got into lists. I'm into string method. To string. I'm coming to string very soon. Now you can see the way I only filter out all the planet that ends with S. Now let's do this same thing now using list comprehension. What I will just say, I will say planet with S end, right? That's my variable. So I want to write it on one line. What I will just do by saying get X, right? For X in planet, if, right? If X dot ends with S. Let me just print it out. So I need to put this inside the string. Let me print out the variable now. Print planet planets with S end. So if I run this, I will have the same result as this. Did you see? Just that this one I put it in list, this one I put it in, right? To put it in a list, I can create an empty list here by saying P, or let me say P equals to empty, then I can then come ahead and say P dot append p dot append x, then I'll print p. So I have the same structure as what I have. I need to remove this outside the loop. Good. So you can see it's not different from what we had. Beginners might like this kind of form, but here is more short and faster. It is more short and faster using list comprehension. Any questions so far? Any question? No question. Okay. All right. So the next topic I want to take, I'm back to my Kaggle notes now. The next topic I want to take is strings and dictionary. Strings and dictionary. Now, so far, for now, we've been using string like this. All these items here, they are all strings, right? We know that we have three basic data structures in Python, which are the list, the tuple, and the dictionary. We've talked about the list. And each of these items, some are mutable, some are immutable. That is, we can change them during the runtime, or we cannot change them during the runtime. That's immutable. When we cannot change them. Let's assume I want to change this planet item. I want to change this Mercury to MERC, Mac. So I can just say planet, right? And I'll say Mercury, planet index 0. I'll change it to MERC. Then let me print planet. Take note, Mercury that was here, I've changed to what? Merc. Why? Because list is mutable. Now, let's now go back to what we wanted to talk about, string. Strings are not mutable, but you can also work with them just like we are working with lists. I will write a list, a variable, now let's say word. And say, hello, everyone. Welcome to Python class, right? Now, what do I say? We can work with the same way we are working with a list. I can slice it. I can say word get from first item to the third to the second item. So it's going to only print. It's going to only print HE. Are we together? You can see this is very similar to list, but it is not list because we cannot change an item. Right? We are going to illustrate that now. We can slice it. What other things can we do? Just like we do for list. But one thing we cannot do, we cannot append the way we do for list. If I say append, yes, it generates error because list object does not have the method called append. Are we together? So that is for list. That is for string. Now let us talk about the method we can use for string now. The first method I want to talk for string is the one that I've used before. Let me quickly talk about that. The end suite, right? If I say end suite, I say once word dot ends with W, it will return false because the last letter of word ends with S. So if I say dot ends with S, and it will return true, right? Opposite of ends with is starts with, right? If I say starts with S, it will return false. But if I say starts with H, then it will return true. Still running, let it run. Okay, now that is the house. Now, another method we can use, a strange method that we can use is we can use dot index. If I say dot index, dot index p, it's going to tell me where can I find index p. So if you count it, you'll notice that p is at index 26, right? Now another method I can use for string is find. So if I say find p, it's going to tell me where I can find p. Now, what is the difference between find and string? You can explore that on your own, but they're actually very, very similar in usage. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the strip method. Let's assume I have exclamation. This is actually mostly used in natural language processing for data cleaning. Now, let's say I have this string that ends with exclamation. I want to clean this exclamation mark, right? And I can say words dot strip, right? First of all, to make it simple, let me import string. So I'll say import string, right? string. So when I import string has several methods here. I can say what does strip, right? The strip string dot punctuation. So I want to get string dot punctuation. So if I run this, having an error. So I have to move this. Take notes. Hello, have you have people in this class? Hello? Am I still online? All right. Okay, I've seen a response. So moving on. So you can see the way I've been able to clean this. Now, the question is now, why are we importing string? String is, this is external library. We're going to still talk about it. It's part of what's in there. So I know many of you will be wondering, what is import? How did we get to this place? When we are working with an external library in Python, we need to import it, right? And string is also an external library. In this case, I'm importing the string module. So I need all the old punctuation. Let me illustrate it. I will say string. Let me print it out. Print string dot punctuation. You notice I have all the whole punctuation marks, right? So if I say print string dot ASCII, letters, so it's going to give me both uppercase and lowercase letters, right? And so on. That is because I don't want to write all the whole punctuation on my own. So I need to make use of this external library. We'll talk about it shortly, right? Okay, time is not with us. So in summary, what I wanted to explain is this strip method. I use this strip method to clean up this data, right? And what do I clean up there? I remove this punctuation mark there. Are we together? So that is that. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the length function. Let me just add it, so time is not with us. So I can now say, use the length function on it by saying length word to give me the length of the string, right? Let me entertain a question before we round up. Though still have a dictionary to talk about. I don't want to rush things. Questions, please. No questions. If you don't have questions, I have a question for you. Any question? Okay, let me drop a task. Oh, I move on. Just in a minute. Let me open up my listing. Look on this way. All right. This is what I want you to do. I want you to write a program, right? Now we count what the word counts. Now this I'm giving you an idea how to use. Let's assume as a data scientist, we want to analyze the current trend or the current topic in on a social media, right? You want to write let's say want to have a write-up on it, right? So you want to see what word is commonly talked about, so you can follow the trend. So your task is to write a code that is going to count the frequency of each word in a large string. I don't know if you understand that. Alamide, you have a question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. About the len function, I want to ask, does it count the spaces as
What?
part of the spaces that are
Can
in
you
the
be
trend?
more audible? I can't hear you.
I said, does that len function count the spaces?
Okay. How do I what?
Does the len function you used last,
Okay.
does it count this?
Yes, it counts how many letters are there altogether, including
The
white
spaces.
space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I'll drop the tags in the group, right? So we can get hands on it. Is there another question I need to attend to before? So then we continue with dictionary from next class, right? Don't stop you reading your Kaggle if you are very much new to programming. How many of us are already used to programming or gone far beyond this? No problem. You're only waiting for machine learning part. No problem. Just keep getting your hands on the tasks I'll be sending. Exactly. If there's no question, I would like to end this class. The class is supposed to end by 5.
Yeah, I have a question.
Ask, please.
So there was one time I was checking through a code online on list comprehension. They used lambda.
Lambda function.
Yes, I don't know what it was for, but I couldn't really understand why they need lambda.
Okay.
So I don't know, is it
Lambda
part of
it's called anonymous function. Maybe I should just do time is up though. Let me just use that to explain. Because you both took function the last class, right? I'm sure Kaggle does not have lambda function, but let me just explain it. Now, sometimes we might need to write a function without giving it a name. Let's write this first. I'll write a function first. I'll say a function that can square digits. Let me say square, right? It's going to accept X. Then I'll say return X times X, right? Very simple function here. Now what I will now do next, I will use this function on a sequence of numbers. Create a new code. Automatic saving field. Okay, that's a new. All right. So now I want to use this function. Let me say I have a digit. I say I have numbers to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the list. And let me now use the square function. Square. If I pass, I need to look this for X. For X in num, right? And then we say return X times X. Good. So now let me call my square function and I pass my num string in it. Can't multiply a list. For X in X. Let me see. Then product equals to X times X. Let me say new dot append products. And I have to create a new list here. New equals to empty list. All right, so let me run this now. Okay, I want to return. Let me return new. So I'll run this now. So append products, then return new. So take note that I'm checking the indentation. Good, this is what I want. So now look at the way it's squared, right? Square 2, square 4, 3, square 9, 4, square 16, 5, square 25, 6, square 36. But in this case, I have to give a function a name. And what's the name of, yes, give a function a name. What's the name of my function? Square. I can write a function that has no name on the fly, right? That is called anonymous function, and it is done using the lambda function. How do I do it? First of all, you need a function called map. When I say map, before I talk about function first, I'll say lambda, right? Lambda x, such that I want x times x, right? What do I want to do? I want to apply this lambda function on this list called num. So how do I merge them together? You use map function. So it's going to say map each of the item of this num, square it. That is, map this rule. This is my rule. Map it on this. So if I run this now, then let me turn it to list so that it can be visible. L-I-S-T. I spelled this wrongly. Take note. So look at the result now. Now, in this case, I've done these two things at the same time. I wrote a function, right? Without writing this loop, and I also display it, and I map it on this list number. Unlike this first method, I wrote a function, right? Then I called my function on this list. Is that clear? So that is the lambda function. It is mostly used in map to set rules. Here it does not have a name, but it is a function anyway. Right? Now, let me know what I will do now. Let me write a function in this case, but I want to give it a name. But I also want to use anonymous function. So I'll say x, let me say prod dot equals to lambda x such that x times x. So my function will only multiply 2 digits together, right? So if I now want to, if I run this now, I can use this the same way I used my previous function that I declare with def. So if I say def product and I pass 4, right, it's going to return 16 because it's going to square. Do you understand? But in this case, it is not more anonymous again because it already has name. Instead of it's better you use def as the standard way of writing it. If you are going to use lambda function, you wouldn't need to put it into it. You would have done it here. Is that clear? Let me use the of lambda function. I can use it in filter, right? Filter is a function. Now I want to set a rules. Let's say in this variable called planet, right? I'll copy the planet code, planet list, and I'll paste it on top, right? Now I want to filter. Now what are the rules I want to use to filter? To set the rules, I will use the lambda. Let's say I want to filter all the words that ends with S, right? So first of all, I need to set my lambda function. I don't want to write my function separately. I want to write it at a go. So then I'll say my lambda x such that, right, x dot ends with S, right? And I want to filter it on planet. So if I run this, I'm going to have all the, okay, I need to just put this in a list so that I can disable because filter is an iterator, so it will not generate like that. Good, so look at how it's filter. I use my lambda function in this case to set my rules. It does not have a name. I don't need to give the function a name. But if I want to write this separately, I will have said def, whatever name you want to put it. I don't know if that is clear. Did that answer your question? I think that was Olamide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I understand it now, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. So let's call it a day. Thank you for joining. So we'll meet again next time. Demi will give you your next notes. So please, if you are going to continue reading your Kaggle notes to get used to it, because the more you write, the more you know. Is that clear? So thank you and have a lovely weekend.